Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video I will be doing a guide for the Brawlers Guild for Battle for Azeroth. You do this either at the Alliance or Horde. They're in different locations, of course. But yeah, we start off, we're going to go through every single fight. We start off with Bruce here. Not too much commentary to do on this fight. There's a chomp 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 ability. That's just get away from in front of him, and then you move to the side until he does it again. Most of these fights are going to be DPS or gear checks as it goes on, and then also just knowing the mechanics. So maybe you'll have to die one or two times. Of course, the point of watching a video is that you are stuck on something or you don't want to have to die. So hopefully we can negate that going forward. But yeah, the first rank 1, each rank has 4 bosses, and the first rank is pretty dang easy overall. So Bruce is dead. Again, just chomp, chomp, chomp. Next up, we have Thog. Thog is just a big ogre, and he also actually only has one main ability, and it's called the Fifth Hammer. And Thog just throws those hammers straight ahead of him like that, and just don't stand in them. Basically the same exact mechanic as Bruce, and then just don't stand in stuff, and you'll be fine on this. Again, you do need DPS, a requisite. They all have they all have enraged timers and whatnot. So you do want to have the DPS to do it. You want to do this on your most geared character, self-healing if possible, all those kinds of things. Not too much casting time if possible too for most fights, unless you have like a pet or something that can tank for you. Next up we have Grandpa Grumplefoot. This one actually has a few mechanics. The main things you're going to want to do here is he's going to have a Cantata of Fluting. Cantata of Fluting heals him, and so you can interrupt that to stop him. He also is going to have all these little teddy bears across the way. The red ones and the yellow ones are bad. The yellow ones are going to jump at you, as you see. And the blue ones actually just heal you. So you can step on the blue ones if you need to. So again, you're going to prioritize interrupting the cantata instead of the song of flute for the healing. And then just don't step on the green or on the red or yellow little teddy bear things. Last for rank 1, we have Ash Ketcham. This is, of course, a play on the Pokemon series. And much like Ash, he's going to, I choose you, and you're going to, or I pick you in this case, probably for copyright reasons. And little critters are just going to come charging out at you. And you just don't want to take any shots from them. So this one in particular where casting is going to be even more bad. As you can see, as they hit the wall, they actually just kind of bounce back and keep going for a while. So you need to really make sure that you do not get hit by these things. You can survive 1, of course, 2, 3. You're going to start being in some major damage. I was able to soak a couple of them because of all the self-healing from Demon Hunter. At rank 2, we start with Blat. Blat is just a big old ooze. And basically he's going to make copies of himself. Other than that, he's just going to like spit on you. And that's not a huge deal. You're just going to have to deal with that. But the copies can be overwhelming, first of all, if you don't have self-healing like a Demon Hunter. So see, I can just stand right here and just tank them all. That's just because of my leech. As you got more and more copies, this would actually do a lot of damage. So what you can do if you have to is you can kite him around. He moves faster than his copies do. So the copies will be further back, and only he will be hitting you in theory. And so it's a single target fight, and that I should stress that you don't have to damage the other stuff at all. For me, it's beneficial because it heals me, and so then I can just stand still and not have to do anything. For our next fight, we have Philip Carter Tracy. This is just a Worgen fight, and basically you don't ever want to have your back to him. So he's going to constantly teleport behind you and then try to claw you in the back. So as you see him do multiple times there in just a couple seconds. So the people I've seen struggle with this the most were casters because they wanted to finish their cast or they didn't turn around fast enough. You don't want to cast as much as possible, but you cannot get hit in the back. But then he does this ability where you're in a net. Again, you cannot have your back to those two things. That will really do a ton of damage to you. So you're just constantly making sure your back's not to him while doing as much damage as you can. However, when you get him to about 40%, he's going to turn into a human. At this point, you can just interrupt Blazing Bullet, and then just you can avoid the slap as well. That's just completely avoidable. He's just slapping like an area, so you can move to the side of that if you want, or you can just soak it like I did if you have the DPS. Next up, we have Johnny Awesome. This is a super easy fight. He has some abilities and he's going to shoot you and everything like that. But and he's going to put the green rings on. So for melee, you want to try to stack these up as much as possible. I do a very poor job of this in the video, but you want to stack those up as much as possible so you have room. However, he'll never do 4 fast enough to where it's going to screw you over. Here's the big ability, Power Shot. So when Power Shot's being cast, you need to get the pet between you and him. As a caster, that can be pretty easy. As a melee, you might have to reposition a little bit. You'll have to reposition either way. He's then going to revive his pet, and that's his priority. So this is just a pure DPS phase when he's reviving his pet. And then his pet comes up, and if you're still fighting him, you don't have the DPS to finish him off during that, he'll do Power Shot again, and you'll have another chance. The last rank 2, we have Mama Storm Stout. Now this one could be a bit annoying, especially if you didn't know the mechanic. I know I died a few times before I had to kind of look into it myself. So she's going to do Crash or Smash Ton at you, and that's just going to put sand on the ground. So this sand does damage. It's like burning sand. So if you stand on it, you're going to take damage. And then these little crocolists will come out too, which you can kill or cleave down. But I'm standing on it again because I have Leech. Other than that, you'd want to wait until she casts a new one, then stand on it. She'll always do the wave right after a Smash Ton, and then that wave will just one-shot if you get hit. So you need to get on the sand right after Smash Ton. It gives you about 2 seconds to get on the sand. You'll take a little bit of damage, but that's fine. We'll get into rank 3 now, and we have Oso the Betrayer. So it's a bear that ate his master. So this is going to be a little bit like the first couple fights. Shotgun Roar is just a frontal attack. Do not stand in it. It will kill you. And he does actually have one other ability too, though. Unlike the rank 1, he also will knock you back at one point. So he's going to do 2 Shotgun Roars. And then at some point he's going to knock you back. And then he's going to do Grizzly Leap at you. So here you'll see Grizzly Leap. You don't want to stand in this. It's for melee. It really sucks because other than like throw glaive, there's not much I could do damage wise during this phase. You're gonna get most of your damage done during the Shotgun Roar phase. And this is the first fight too where the boss felt like it has a lot more health. It's rank 3, so there is a little bit of a jump in health as well. So you do want to make sure that you're putting out the appropriate damage before the berserk timer goes off. You have quite a bit of time. Rank 3, you're still probably not in too much danger of hitting the berserk timer, but with this Grizzly Leap ability, it does make it a little bit more difficult. So he's doing Grizzly Leap now. Finish him off during that. Okay, so next up we have Clunk. So this one got me a few times too. I didn't know this fight at all. So Clunk is just going to cast one ability at you, and he's going to try to clonk you. So he's also constantly pulling you in. So you see a circle around his feet. If you stand in there when he finishes his cast, that'll get you. If you stand where he's looking when he finishes his cast, that'll get you. All the time, you're being sucked inwards. So at first you can barely feel it. As the fight goes on, you'll feel yourself getting sucked in more and more and more by his like magnetism or whatever. So as a melee, you want to make sure you can stand in there all you want, but you need to be out of that by the time his cast finish, so you don't take that lethal damage. And it is pretty much lethal. I think you might be able to survive one if you have high enough health, but it's not something I recommend. You see me getting sucked in there, you want to make sure, again, you don't stand in it. I've seen a lot of casters get sucked into it even. It's harder for melee, but I've seen casters get sucked in while they're casting something. So you want to make sure you don't do that. And then finish him off. Next up, we have one of the fights that I like the least in this whole thing. And that's Farmer Sang-Soo. So the entire point of this fight, which I do a very poor job at, is he's going to shoot these water things at you, and you don't want to interrupt it. And it's going to shoot a straight line, and it's going to fertilize or hydrate whatever the ground, those ground patches. So I actually got 2 of them there on accident, really. And in theory, you would want to line them up to get 2 or 3 every time. Then on the ground, there are the green cabbage-looking things, and there's like the rotten pumpkin-looking things. This would be a rotten one. And so you want to kite him over the rotten ones, but as you can see, he can touch it and not get it. You almost have to get him right through the middle of it. And then you can pick up the nice cabbage ones, and that'll give you an increase of damage. Picking up the rotten ones make you take more damage, so that's why you're having him get those. So your priority here is actually just lining up the watering cans. I would say probably at least try to get half of the earth thing sprouted. and maybe more if your gear's a little lower. Get at least half of the earth sprouted before you even worry about focusing your DPS, because he has a lot of health. The whole point of the fight is to do this. And I was not very good at it. I was mostly bad at having him kite over the toxic ones, but it is important. I actually end up barely finishing this one before the berserk timer because I just did not do a good enough job with the watering can. In an ideal world, you would line them up, get like 3 at a time, and just get all the earths sprouted, get like plus 50% damage for yourself, plus 50% damage taken by him, and you would just absolutely destroy everything. That would be the prime way to do it. So as you can see, I did not do it the prime way. I'm just look. He's like standing in the rotten thing. He's not picking it up. So you almost have to get him to touch the exact center of it there, and you don't want him to pick up the good ones and do more damage to you either. Because other than that, his damage isn't that bad. It's just it can be a little bit worse if he picks up the stuff. So this is going to be your first one. This is a Huro. This is the last one of rank 3, and this one's going to be the first one that's like probably super frustrating for you. So you can do a little bit of damage to him before he comes out, and now he's going to be immune, and all these little sparklies are going to be on the ground. You'll notice right there, one popped up that's a little bit more bright than the others, and if you touch that one won't kill you, and that'll spawn an angel. Now you can spawn you need 3 angels, so you can spawn all 3 at once, or you can do one at a time like I am. Once it gets to 50%, it's going to charge at you. So you need to charge to go through the boss. And then after he's on his way to you, you can move to the side and avoid the charge. And now we're going to do that 2 more times, all while dodging these things. This is what makes it really hard, especially as a demon. I'm playing on my demon hunter, so I'm used to being able to kind of like, just charge through everything or move around really quickly, I should say. And that's not the case here. You definitely want to just prioritize not doing that. You can kind of kite the angels too because they're really slow, as you can see. And then so again, the charge is going to come. He finishes the charge cast, and then he'll go in a straight line after that. But you do want to make sure that you have it lined up. So I'm going to still need to get my 30 angels. You can see I'm taking quite a bit of time here. I'm hitting things like an idiot. This is one I died to many times, even knowing how to do the fight beforehand. So there's me. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not hitting things when I use my rush ability, but it is what it is. I actually have multiple extra angels spawn. Now those will despawn. So now you're going to be trapped in these orb things. Make sure you only hit one. You need to get the hell out of there. You're trapped in the orbs, so you only want to take 1 if possible. And then other than that, this is where it's really easy. This is just a burn phase. So you have that orb ability that we saw, and then he has complete heal. So you need to interrupt that because that's a complete heal, just as it sounds. So as long as you interrupt complete heal, you'll be fine on that, and then you'll kill him. The first phase is by far the hardest phase on that one. So as we start rank 4 with Ouroboros here, this is actually another one that has quite a few abilities that you definitely have to know. He's not a particularly hard boss, but you do need to know the abilities to be able to win this one. So all these patches on the ground, you want to make sure you don't stand in those, of course. And then he's also going to do this beam ability, and while he's doing this beam ability, he actually pulses out damage. So you do not want to be standing next to him how I am. That's why I almost died right there. I actually didn't know that at the time. I actually somehow still killed the boss while not knowing that. But while he's doing that beam ability, that's when you want to run out, okay? And then any other time, you don't want to be out because he'll do a different ability for you being too far away from him. So it's basically managing whether you're close or far. When the beam's going off, be far. Any other time, be close. And that's probably the simplest way to put it. Other than that, don't stand in the beam, don't stand in the circles on the floor, and then you should be fine. So close, unless this beam's going off, which is you're going to see it just about kills me. And I barely finish him off there. So you can get lucky too and just live through it and not die. Okay, so now after 2 a little bit more difficult ones, we get a super easy one. So this is just a big fire guy. He has just a bunch of fire things. This is Firewall. This is the deadly ability. So there's going to be 3 walls around you, 1 wall open, that's where you can go through. You can interrupt this Pyroblast, you can stun him. He also has a Fireball. Obviously, if you're going to interrupt one, choose Pyroblast over Fireball. And then every time a Firewall comes out, just be ready. If you're melee, just be ready to get out. It's pretty easy. You don't have to have any super movement abilities to do so. Don't finish your cast. He doesn't have a huge health pool by any means either, so he's just a fairly easy tank and smink boss. I mean, his health isn't particularly low, I suppose, but it's not, it's about the same as Ouroboros. Just a void firewall fight, really. And, again, like I said at the beginning, self-healing is good because you are going to take some fireballs here as well. This next fight's really interesting, and it's really a little bit of memory game in a way. So unless you get lucky like me, which you'll see. So all these things are going to spawn. So you need to kind of realize where all of these things are. So there's a turtle, there's a bug, there's that. You kind of remember where everything is. He's going to call out things. So an armored pet is what he says for this one. So I just assume it's the turtle, and it was. If he says armored pet, it's a turtle. And so you go over to the turtle, and everywhere else you're going to die. Maybe like huge defenses can save you. I'm not sure, but you do not want to be standing in that. So now he's going to call out another thing for something in the sea or something like that. So I went over to that. Now, however, he's going to blow this up. When he gets low health, he's going to at 40%. He's going to put out a blinding thing, and then you can't see anymore. And that's what I mean by you have to remember things. Because if he calls it out again, you either just need to try to DPS him down if he's close, or you need to remember where to stand, which can be a little bit rough. And the last one for rank 4, we have the Warhammer Council. Now this one's just incredibly easy for a Demon Hunter to do. Basically, the biggest thing you want to avoid is the fire circle on the ground. Other than that, everything else is pretty much takeable. If you have a pet, use a pet for this one. If you have, like, you don't want to sit there and take all their damage if you don't have to, but self-healing pet makes this one just incredibly easy, considering it's the last one of the rank 4. As you see, I just simply AoE them all down, get out of the fire. The fire is the most damaging ability. And it's just super simple, super fast if you're a cleave class like that. Rank 5 starts you off with a super easy one, and it's Meatball. So you only have to he has a huge health pool is his only thing, and you only have to get him down to 20%. So all these things on the ground, you just can collect these up. It stacks all the way up to 50, and that has you do more damage. So the entire point of this fight is just to pick up these things. You don't even really need a DPS. There's almost no point of DPSing until you have a good amount of these, to be honest. You could use, like, for example, I would recommend using like any like powerful cooldowns you have, which I don't know for every class what that would be, but like for a Rep Paladin, which is my main, like use your Wake of Ashes when it's up, then maybe like, Templar's Verdict him on your way by, picking up more. As a Demon Hunter, you could use like your Eye-Beam, for example, like I am right now, just to make sure you're putting in a little bit of damage on him. You don't want to have to do all 80%, in an instant once you get up to 50 stacks. You don't have to get up to 50 stacks, but you might as well. There's plenty of them to get up that high. And as you can see, I'm not to 50 stacks yet, but I still almost have him dead. Just kind of cleaving him. He kind of enrages a little bit as well before he kind of blows up and dies. Which is a super easy fight. I didn't even use a DPS cooldown on that. Like a big time cooldown. And then Bort comes out and he teleports himself away. Next up, we have Millie Watt. Millie Watt's just like a little gnome. So this one's just, again, it's about knowing the mechanics. So you're going to want to avoid electric dynamite, which is going to be dynamite, but it looks electrical, right? So you're always going to avoid that unless she casts Mega Fantastic Discombobulator or something like that. When she casts that, before it ends the cast, you want to actually run into the lightning. So Mega Fantastic Discombobulator thing. So before she finishes the cast, you run in. Now, if you've done like Karazhan, for example, like I believe her name's the Maiden of Virtue, but whatever the big Titan type construct thing is, you want to stand in that to break the Discombobulator, basically. This is similar also to Johnny Awesome in that you can line these electric dynamites up so you can still DPS as melee. Try not to walk through it as much as I am. Again, I'm self-healing a lot here, else I would have died doing that. Not the smartest thing in the world. You can also stun the other ability if you want. That's not interruptible. But yeah, other than that, you just get in for the Decombobulator. Try not to run through it as I am like an ape. I just had self-healing, so I just had faith in myself there. This is an interesting fight. So next up we have Tide Mistress. So if you have super high DPS, you can pretty much just actually kind of stay on her and kill her because you have a big Tortolan helping you out as well. However, he brought his kid with him. So if the kid takes damage, because he wants you to watch the kid, if the kid takes damage, he gets ticked at you and enrages and kills you. So as you'll see, she's putting flames on the ground. So the kid's going to be like, ooh, flames. So I went and stood on the flames and took those flames as damage for myself. Again, I'm self-healing as well. However, let's say you don't want to go pick up all the damage from everything that she puts out. You can actually click on the kid, because the kid will be like, ooh, what's that? And start walking towards it. You can click on the kid, pick him up, and move him to a safer area. Now, of course, if there's too much stuff in the room, eventually, you'll just be overwhelmed. I think right here towards the end, the kid's like, ooh, what's that? But other than that, I didn't. So right there, he says, what's that? I almost have her dead. At this point, I figure, no, don't have to go click on him or anything. Alright, so this one's interesting. This is the last one of this rank, of rank 5. It's Mingus Digs. And he's going to have 4 totems in each, 1 totem in each corner, 4 totems total. So, if you are ranged, you could stand in between 2 of them, for example, and get them both down and then take off your next 2 debuffs. As a melee, it's going to depend on your DPS, really. As you're going to see, I'm able to kill 2 of them completely before I start taking too much damage that I need to take off the buffs of the other ones. To take off the debuff, you just stand near that one. So the best way for me to show you this is, so I'm on the 3rd one now. You're going to see my health start ticking down really quickly here. And then I notice it going down. So now I have to go to the 4th one, even though I didn't kill the 3rd one yet, because I had to get that debuff off me, or else I was going to die. So now I'm able to kind of heal myself back up with my self-healing, and then go back and kill the 3rd one. So if you had a lower DPS, and what I would suggest is probably go stand on one, do 50%, go stand on another, do 50%, stand on the other, do 50%, and just do 2 circles around until they're both dead. Once the totems are dead, it becomes pretty much an easy fight at that point. You don't have to worry too much about anything, and you can just kind of DPS them down pretty simply. The whole point of the fight is just doing those totems. Alright, rank 6, we start off with a giant snake, and it's like a game of snake. So, as we see him come out there, so you're going to want to kite him around slowly. So if you're whether you're melee or ranged, use your back pedal, use instant cast. If you have to cast, take the cast time seconds away from him and start casting. So for my I-beam, I would take like two or 3 steps extra, and then use I-beam. If he ever stands still in his little stuff, he's going to become too big. He does more damage and takes less damage. So it's not even that he's just going to one-shot you and you can, defensive cooldown through it. He actually takes less damage as well. So I've seen a guy get him down to like 1% and then let him stand still and not being able to kill him because he takes 99 or, whatever percent less damage at some point. So you're just kind of kiting him around in a circle here. And it's a little bit of a slow fight because of that. And then you'll see these spots on the floor, and when you get to those spots, you just got to go around them in some, intelligent way here, which is going to shrink your floor space. I do suggest doing it the way I'm doing it. You can do it long ways if you want, long ways of the room. I'm doing it this way, mostly just because it seems simpler to do with my I-beam cast. It honestly doesn't matter. Just for whatever reason in my head, it seemed like it'd be simpler to do this way. I've seen everyone else actually do it the long ways. I guess it's less turning, right? If you're a caster, you might want to do it the long ways. Whatever works for you, frankly. Alright, so next up we have Stitches. Now, I don't know if there is a... Because I'm reading everything on it, and I don't know if there's a glitch on this or not, but while you're in this green stuff, you're going to have a debuff on you. The whole point of this is not to let that stack up to 10, and you need to be inside it, because else he's just going to hook you in anyways. Do not let that stack up to 10. Now, for me, it seemed like as long as I was doing high damage, the debuff wasn't even stacking. The highest I ever got up was like 3 or 4, and it would go back down when I did like a big DPS ability. So I don't know if that's on purpose or not. But just know, if it gets up to 8, 9, you need to get out, and you need to get out fast, because as the fight goes on, he will hook you, and that hook debuff's the red one, and that will make you move slower. So it'll be harder and harder to get out of the rot each time, because you're going to be moving slower and slower and slower. So if you move out at 8 or 9, eventually you have to move out at 6 or 7, 5 or 4, and it's going to get to the point where it's impossible to get in and out while still doing damage. So hopefully for you, it's like me and you never even have to leave the rot. That would be ideal for everybody, I'm sure. But if you do have to get out, again, you die at 10, and each time you go out, he'll hook you. And that hook will make you move slower, and will eventually lead to your death if you don't kill him fast enough. Okay, so I told you earlier I hated that farmer fight. Now this is basically the same premise here, with a little bit more kinkiness, I suppose. This is Robe Robber Robber. Try to say that 10 times fast. So he has a declothing strike. You want to interrupt that as many times as possible. Then he has a whirlwind of water. Do not stand it like I just did. So each time it's going to remove clothing off of you or off of him. So if you interrupt the declothing strike or derobing strike, if you interrupt that, it'll actually derobe him instead of you. And so each time I don't interrupt it, you can also stun that to have it work as well. As you can see, he's putting them near the walls for me, which I really hated a lot. It made it very difficult for me and was not very fun. However, I was still able to do the fight. So he already has me completely declothed, and I'm barely even done anything to him. And so each time he hits you after that, it hurts quite a bit though. After he has declothed you or derobed you. I hate that he put so many of them so close to the wall. So he's almost declothed finally. He's getting there. So once you do get him declothed, so he's almost there now, this is where you can actually start doing damage. So he's going to run in fear and take a lot of extra damage. So as long as you live to this part, you should be fine. You still want to interrupt him and do whatever you can to him, but you just declothe him, and then you'll be able to kill him. He runs around in shame, and that's the end of the fight. That's the whole point of it. So you're interrupting and you're kiting him through the whirlpools. Lastly, for rank 6, we have the return of Bruce. Except for now, he's mechanized, so he's a lot stronger in theory. So you want to tank him in the corners. He's still going to do like a chomp, chomp, chomp ability. You want to avoid that, and then he's going to cast bigger, stronger, faster. Now, I advise, especially if you're melee, well, anybody really, before he finishes that cast, you want to get to the other corner, because then he's going to stun you, and then he's going to walk towards you, and then he's going to walk faster and faster as the fight goes on, and then he's going to do more chomping. Because if he stuns you right near you, eventually, as he goes faster and faster, he will just chomp you and kill you. So that's why you're doing the whole corner thing. It's not necessary at the very beginning of the fight, but I still just recommend doing it to get used to it. I died a lot of times on this fight, even though it's pretty simple, because I didn't do that. So here you're going to see I get stunned a little bit early. He runs to me a little bit faster. I was still able to get out of the chomp, if only barely, even though I didn't get all the way to the corner. So here you take him to the corner. You're going to do this over and over again. This is just a DPS fight, or DPS check, because eventually he's going to get you as he gets bigger, stronger, and faster. Now you can also, you could pop a defensive or an immunity, of course, to take that. A pet would be good for this one as well, if you could stun the pet. Pets in general are kind of OP in here, but this is one that, just avoid the chomp and then get the hell to the corner, other corner, before he does bigger, stronger, faster. Don't get cute with it. I've seen many people die when he was almost dead because they tried to finish him off. Just keep doing the strategy over and over again. See, this one actually got fairly close to the Berserk timer too. He does do 2 chomps. So there we go. So now we have rank 7, which is the final rank. And first we start with the Seagull. So this is mostly just a DPS fight, like most of them, like I've said, more than the mechanics even. But there are important mechanics to know here. So he puts on the tree with the fire. You don't want to stand in those. You want to place them in good places if you can. And then he summons little seagulls, mini ones, and bees. Now the bees you are kiting around and avoiding. The trees you're not standing in. And the seagulls you're cleaving down. Now it is nice to see, as I get disoriented there, it is nice to have one of the little seagulls alive, because if it hits you, it'll break you out of that disorient. But it's not completely needed either, as long as you're kiting the bees at a far enough level. You don't want the bees to reach you, because then they'll do a ton of damage to you. Now, as a demon hunter, I was able to do a lot of self-healing because of the extra little mini seagulls, and that made everything a lot easier for me. He's also going to tune up as the fight goes on, which makes him, bigger, faster, stronger, much like Bruce, although it's called something differently. So you do want to go as fast as you can before he gets too powerful. See, there's a lot of bees chasing me. You always want to keep kiting these. This is a good fight for instant casts, better than casting. Good fight for self-healing. One of those type of fights. So you see, every time I do my I-beam, I'm able to pretty much heal up because of all the ads. You don't want the bees to get to you. At the same time, you kind of feel pressured to kind of finish the fight, so you let them drift in a little bit further than maybe you should. Ideally, you would want to have the Christmas trees kind of more, making sure that you have a path to get through everything. But so I almost died right there, actually, because I let the bees get to me. Luckily, again, I-beam, full heal up. So that's the glory of being a demon hunter, I suppose. Next up, we have Fran and Rideau. So this one was actually kind of annoying, frankly, and I'll show you and tell you why here. So you can actually DPS them both at the same time. You want to avoid the red stuff on the ground, of course. You do want to kill the big guy first, which is Rideau. And he's going to root you, and you're going to be in the middle of these mines. You have to get out of the mines. Now, as you see, there's nothing I could do right there to avoid that dynamite. So you do need some sort of self-healing or some sort of pet, some way to absorb, a defensive ability, whether it's a barrier or whatever, to absorb that. Also, you just want to kind of kill him as fast as possible. Rideau, you would want to use your DPS cooldowns on the big guy, because the little one's actually easier to kill because you don't have that hook net ability anymore. The hook net is really what gets you and traps you, so that's the one you're really worried about there. You are able to stun. I do advise doing that because that can, again, have one less time you're stuck in the net, perhaps there. So you want to get out as soon as possible. So now you just have Fran, which will still do the dynamite. It'll constantly do the dynamite, and then it'll also randomly do the goblin device. So as a melee, as you're going to see me do soon, I was kind of waiting for my I-beam to come up, but as a melee, you kind of want to just kind of run in circles around Fran as she throws dynamite at you. And then there's a goblin device, and make sure you don't stand in that. And then you can finish her off. 2 more to go and we are done. Next up, we have Black Mage. So this one I actually remembered from previous times, although I did die a few times on this one. So as you can see, there's fire burning powder up into the cannons, and when it gets to the cannon, it'll fire the cannon. I don't think it quite one-shots you with high gear, but it does hurt you severely and cripples you. So you want to try to avoid it as much as possible. Your choices are either stand at the can. I mean, you could stand wherever you want, but either stand at the cannons or stand at the other side of the room where the fire spawns. I found it easier to stand close to the cannons just so I could see just clearly the fire getting to it, and then move to a safer zone. And you're basically just moving. You want to be standing on powder at all times if possible. You don't ever want to, you don't want to get shot by the cannons. So you're just going to be constantly moving. You can do a kind of a strategy where you're always moving to a new one. I kind of chose more to just move when I absolutely had to, or one right next to me was reset. That way I never really moved much across the room. But if you wanted to, you can move theoretically back and forth across the room and be relatively safe. Other than that, he does have quite a bit of health. He does have a very large chunk of health. He's one of the higher health ones. And it's just a long fight of you dodging cannons. That's the whole point of the fight. Just, can you continue dodging these cannons? He does have a charge ability as well. Doesn't appear to really do much. I wouldn't worry about the charge too much, because it doesn't appear to knock you into... it didn't knock me into anything, so... as you see, he just charges. Knocks you down, I guess. So you don't want to be standing in one that's about to blow up, I suppose. But you never should be doing that anyways. So there's that. Last up, we have Ogre Watch, which is a tribute to Overwatch, where you're going to be fighting Winston, McCree, and Junkrat. So their actual names are Hudson, Snuffshrew, and Dupree. So first of all, when the fight starts, you need to stun, fear, some sort of CC on the monkey, because he has a barrier up. So once that barrier is down, you want to be killing the one that's McCree, that's casting High Noon. Again, it's not actually McCree, it's Dupree. You want to be killing Dupree, and he's casting High Noon. If he finishes that, you automatically die. So it's kind of making fun of the Overwatch character because he kind of takes a while to wind up and then he shoots. So a lot of times people hide before he kills you and stuff like that. The big thing you're looking out for while you're doing this is obviously don't stand in the fire. Winston or the Hudson will be doing damage to you as well. Jump pack. However, the Snuff Shrew, the Junkrat, he's going to do Maniacal Laugh. You cannot be standing within 6 yards of him when that finishes. That does the most damage. So I got McCree down, Dupree down, and now I'm just going to be kiting around in circles. A lot of people say to kill the monkey next. However, honestly, if you're a melee, if you can kill the Junkrat next, that's kind of what I suggest. I end up killing him next by accident just by cleaving him down. He has less health. I definitely would suggest that. The monkey's pretty easy to deal with, which is why they say to get him down next. But I don't know. You can interrupt the monkey. The monkey just seems so easy, and the Maniacal Laugh can pretty much one-shot you. So honestly, I suggest getting down Stuff Shrew at that point. So you'll see I pretty much killed him at the same time, but my health is low the entire time though, I'll give him that. So that's it there. So that's it for the guide. If you have any super big questions, you can of course ask below, and I'll try to help you out the best I can. I struggled on many of these fights myself. I consider myself a good player. I wasn't on my best character, but nevertheless, some of these fights can be a little bit hard. I'll try to help anybody out that needs help. Please subscribe to the channel if this video helped you out at all, or you find any videos interesting, because that helps me out the most. Once you reach rank 8, you'll be able to buy the rank 8 things from the vendor, so that's good too. Yeah, so good luck to everybody, and everybody have a good one.